Hello everybody, I'm Jason Lescu, editor of MyFantasyAdvice.net and the managing editor at the Las Positas Express newspaper. Today we're going to be talking about the AFC Championship game between the New England Patriots and the Baltimore Ravens. And there's a few quick points I want to make, starting with the fact that New England's favored by 9 points in Vegas. Don't let that get to your heads. It'll be right away an overwhelming victory by the Patriots. Remember, they played last season in the same game, and Baltimore did lose, but only by a missed field goal that should have been made and would have sent the game into overtime. And there's also a few other key differences in this one. Most importantly is that New England is without Rob Gronkowski for the rest of the year. They do have Aaron Hernandez, who's a huge playmaker, but Gronkowski was the guy that was able to tear through the Baltimore line and the Baltimore secondary with no problem. The other thing is that the Baltimore pass rush, the defensive line, is, in my opinion, a good bit better than it was last season. You have Haludi Ngata, Terrell Suggs, Pernell McPhee, all incredibly talented pass rushers. And when you have Ed Reed and Ray Lewis, two veterans that have played together their entire career since college at Miami, those five players right there create a serious issue for any team. Tom Brady's a great quarterback, but this should create some issues for him without Gronkowski. And also for New England, their receiving core is the talented group, it's a seasoned group, but it's also an old group. They're not nearly as fast as they once were. Deion Branch, all those guys, and Wes Welker left out, of course. They're just, I see the Baltimore secondary being able to go stride for stride with every single one of them, and not leaving much room open for Tom Brady to get the ball to him. And then, of course, the Baltimore run defense is also solid. So offensively for New England, it's going to be a difficult day to even get to the red zone. And I'm sure they will, but once the Patriots get to the red zone, that's where Baltimore also excels. So I do see a lot of field goals by Gostkowski. For the Baltimore Ravens offense, it's going to be a pretty easy day. New England is terrible on defense. They've always been an offensive team. It's been that way forever. And Baltimore's had tendency, since Ray Lewis anyway, has been defensive. It's just been that way. And last season in particular, there was a huge emphasis on, don't turn the ball over for the Baltimore offense. That was what Flacco was told. And let Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, all those guys, Terrell Suggs, do their job. And that's how they're going to win the game. That's changed. It's not the same at all anymore. And the receiving core over the last few years has gotten really good. They've had Anquan Bolden for a bit. But they're younger guys are very talented, and Joe Flacco has proven that he can play in the clutch and play under pressure. Of course, last week against the Broncos, that 7-yard touchdown pass to Jacoby Jones, incredible precision, and Denver has a great defense. And Flacco, Ray Rice, all those other guys in the Ravens were able to just plow through them. The pass rush wasn't a problem, and I think against New England that Flacco is going to have an easy day in comparison. And I see the Ravens putting up around 38 to 48 points. One of their biggest weapons is going to be Ray Rice and also Vontae Leach. Ray Rice is a guy that can just go through. He's a small guy, but he's strong and powerful, and he can run through any line. He can also run outside. Vontae Leach, of course, is the fullback. He's just big between the tackles, and against I just can't get over how weak the New England defense is. Vontae Leach is probably going to average 4 to 5 yards a game as a fullback, and that's really unheard of in the NFL. But it goes to show, A, how good the Baltimore O-line is and just how bad the defense is in New England. Um, as far as playing in Foxborough, it'll be a bit of a factor. Noise is always going to be a factor when you're the visiting team on offense, but it's not nearly as loud as Seattle, or some of those other stadiums or a dome in football. The weather should be pretty decent, and I just see the Ravens winning. I don't think there's any way around it.